In this video I'm going to be showing you how to install a metal strainer basket for your kitchen sink. Now there's a couple things you're going to need. Of course, your strainer basket with your gaskets. You're going to need some plumber's putty. Now if you look on the directions of your strainer basket, and this is going to apply for any steel strainer basket, it will say use silicone or plumber's putty. I used silicone years ago and found out that it starts to leak after about 6 or 7 years. After using plumber's putty, I've never had one leak again. So I highly recommend use the plumber's putty. Do not use silicone. And you're going to need something to tighten this locking ring down with. Something like a very large channel lock pliers, or they make a special tool that fits into the grooves of this ring to tighten it down. So I'm going to flip this sink up and give you guys a good view of how to install one of these. First thing you want to do is make sure this surface is very clean. Now if you're taking off an old one, you're going to have to clean this with probably like a putty knife and then maybe some alcohol or something. But you want this surface and this back mating surface as clean as you can get it. And then you're going to take your plumber's putty and you're going to want to get about, let's say, the size of, I wouldn't say a large meatball, but maybe a small meatball. And work the putty around a little bit like this. And then once it starts to get a little warm in your hands, you're going to start to roll it out. And you're going to want to make like a piece of rope. And you want it to be maybe 3/8 of an inch to about a 1/2 inch in diameter. So about the size of like a pinky finger. Something like that. Then you're going to want to put it right on the rim of your either your stainless or your whatever metal basket. Wherever it overlaps, just break that off. Should look something like that. And then you're going to stick this through from the top side. And then on the back, you're going to put your rubber washer on first. And then you should have a paper washer. So on the back side, I'll stick this rubber washer on first. So you should see, let's take this out of there, this plumber's putty kind of ooze out. You got rubber first and now the paper. And I'm just going to kind of push it down in there so it holds itself in place. And now what I like to do, and I do it for a couple reasons. You can take this plumber's grease. It's for faucets and valves. Make sure that you clean this ring. And then I just put a fine coating of this grease on your locking ring. You don't need like a big gob of it, but I'll put it on there to wipe off the excess. Get some of that off of there. Just a very light coating of that plumber's grease. And I find that that does a couple things. One, it allows you to get it tighter because this slides on that paper gasket. Now the reason that paper gasket is on there so that when you tighten this down, it doesn't wrinkle the rubber gasket. So this allows the paper gasket to do a better job at staying flat, and it also allows you to get this ring a little bit tighter. So I'll slide this ring on. And you should start to see the plumber's putty kind of ooze out. And once you get it pretty much as tight as you can with your hand, you're going to use your large channel lock pliers. And I'll bring the camera around here to the back and we'll tighten this up. Alright, so if you look here at the back, you'll see the rubber washer here. There's the paper gasket. There's the plumber's grease that I have on there. And usually to do this by yourself, you sometimes have to hold this because it will turn. But that's another reason I put that light coating of grease on there, is this will keep turning and it won't allow the strainer basket to turn. So you just kind of tighten it up like this. And then we'll go take a look at the front side and see how much of the plumber's putty is coming out. You see how there's a nice even ribbon of putty being squished out? Now if you tighten this down too tight, you're just going to squish all of that out. So a lot of people ask, well, how tight do you need to get a strainer basket? Well, let's take a look at the back side and we can see how many threads are showing, and then I'll give a little explanation on how tight to make it. So there's a couple ways to tell that you've got this tight enough. One, you should be able to see about 2 threads on your strainer basket. And 2, you see how this rubber gasket is starting to push out here on the sides? You really don't want to go any tighter than that. I usually tighten, once I get this pretty much hand tight, then I'll use channel lock pliers and go about 1 to 1.5 full rotations to tighten it all the way. Or I watch for the rubber gasket to just barely start to squeeze out or deform. Now on the front side, I'll show you another way to make sure you have it tight enough. So you can come around here to the front and just peel off your plumber's putty. Just like that. And then you want to feel around the edge of your base of the sink and the strainer flange. And you want that to be flush all the way around. If it feels like the strainer basket is raised up a little bit, you might want to give it another 1/4 of a turn. But it feels like all the way around, this one's nice and flush. So that's a couple of ways to tell that you have it tight enough. And I hope the video gave you some good information. And I thank you guys for watching.